I am your host, Chad Peak, aka Peak-OB1, and along with me, my friend and co-host, Darth Daddy, otherwise known as Brian Fulton. And we have another guest with us tonight, don't we?
Hi.
Yeah, Elias.
How are we doing tonight, guys?
For a bit until
how are we doing?
Cuts out. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. As you can see, my Star Wars collection hasn't gone. It's getting bigger still.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so here we are again. This is a great episode. Tonight we're going into season 1 of the Clone Wars. And we are going to be discussing some of the first few episodes. Last time we spoke with you guys, we talked about the theatrical release, the movie that was released in 2008. What'd you think of that movie, Elias?
I think it was pretty good. From what I remember my first time seeing it, I don't know. I just remember liking it my first time seeing it, even though it was so long ago.
Yeah. Do you ever go back to it and enjoy it?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm just going through it with my mom right now. I just started her on the Clone Wars. We're still in season 1.
There you go. Get the mom hooked. That's the way to go, right?
It works. She likes it.
Yeah. Well, last time we talked about some of our favorite characters from the movie, and Zero was definitely at the top. But one of the things we did not talk about, and that's going to lead us to our first shout out of the night, is Twilight. What an awesome vehicle that was. What'd you think of that, Elias?
I really liked it. It's a really sentimental thing because it was kind of like Anakin and Ahsoka's, like, it was like their ship, and it really, like, it was kind of like the Millennium Falcon of season 1. And every time I watch Clone Wars with my mom, she's like, "They're still flying that piece of junk," and I'm like, "Yep."
Or the Ghost too, right? There's always a vehicle that has to come in and make its signature on the show, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what we do in our shout out is we like to pat on the back people that have stood out in customizing, especially in the Clone Wars. So what we have tonight is something that was posted on Imperial Shipyards, and I'm going to give it over to my co-host, and he's going to tell you a little bit about that. Go ahead, Brian.
All right. Well, this is I don't know how many people remember the Twilight. That was a item that a lot of people had heavily requested at the time, and a lot of us wanted to add it to our, 3 3/4 inch collection. Unfortunately, I don't think it's ever going to happen at this point. We're praying for a ghost, and I think hopefully we're not in that same situation, but there is a chance that, is the way it's going to be. There is a Star Wars customizer that goes by the name Glorbs, and he does amazing builds. He actually did a ghost that was pretty amazing, but for tonight and for today's purposes, we're going to focus on his Twilight custom. And I'm just going to do a quick screen share so you could check that out. I talked to him early in the week, and he said it would be a great honor to be showing up on here. So we're going to get that going. Are you seeing it right now?
Sure am. Wow. All right. Look at that. Tell us a little bit about that. Man, it's amazing.
All right. So I think he built it just out of foam board and, pieces of styrene and other things that he had laying around. I think there's even like a baby bottle that's somewhere in here. But if you see the scale and you're looking at, the size of a 3 3/4 inch figure, it isn't, I guess, totally to scale. But when you think about most of the Hasbro vehicles we've gotten over the years, everything always did have to get shrunk down a bit. But he actually made it so the guns actually spin and move. There's a little cockpit there. And it does do the extension there where you have the moving parts, so you can move that extra arm down into that other position. And I think it does have LED, so you could get some lighting in the cockpit. And it has the back cargo bay access area. And to me, this is one of the cooler items that we got built. As you can see, this is actually in the build phase right here.
Yeah, that is sharp. I'm guessing some of that is foam core or maybe more like PVC. of some sort.
Yeah, it looks like foam core there.
Yeah, looks real sharp. Really
Yeah, he
sharp.
did a nice job.
Yeah, I think it's a realistic size. You know what I'm saying? I have seen other people attempt to do the Twilight.
Oh, that's probably for me.
All right, grab it and run.
All right.
Okay.
So he had to run. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Maybe next time, right?
Flying solo.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time. We're always flying solo. It's the best way to go, right?
It was nice. It was nice to have him while it lasted. You know.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, you know, on one hand, you know, if they made the Twilight, would they have made it really big? Would it have been huge? You know, or would it have been really small? You know, even smaller than what?
Oh, if they did like one of those Boba Fett slave ones, like, you know, only one man can fit in there.
Yeah.
I still want it. That's a good question.
Yeah, I almost wanted if it was that small. You know, if it was severely undersized, kind of like the Outrider from Shadows of the Empire. Like that was extremely small. I didn't really.
Yeah, it should have been built more like a Falcon, right? The Outrider.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
Okay.
This week we're going to, like I said, we're going to go into season 1, and we're going to talk about a series of episodes, if there's arcs or episodes that stand out. We're not going to talk about every single episode in its entirety. We're simply going to be talking about highlights of the episodes, but we are going to go through season 1, starting with season 1. And the ones we're going to cover this week are Ambush, the Malevolence arc, and we're also going to get to rookies. Hopefully we're going to get to rookies because I have a great quick tip custom at the end of the show that I would like to show you to make an ultimate clone trooper. So we'll check that out towards the end of the show. But let's get into it, right? So we first got Ambush when season 1 came out, and Ambush was pretty cool. It was definitely a really great episode where it put Yoda and a couple clone troopers up against numbers. They were basically outnumbered. Yeah, they were outnumbered.
Yeah. The droid army.
Right. And I'll go into a couple images that I'd like to share. And one of the customs I think I would really like to get to at some point is King Katuko and his troops, his guard, I guess, his royal guard, since he's royalty and whatnot. You know, we never really got around to it, but there was a strong influence with the prequels, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. And that's one of the things I really liked. I think Clone Wars really, I had said it in the previous episode how it enhanced, you know, the prequels, and like this is one of the situations where you're seeing another character like Watto, which I thought was cool. Like you're bringing some of these new species, and you're bringing them into the Clone Wars storyline, and you're seeing that there's more people of that. Do you remember what kind of species Watto was?
He's a Toydarian. He's a Toydarian.
That's right. Yeah.
How
can I forget that after you're like
able to be influenced?
Won't work on us.
Yeah. Yeah, not able to be influenced by force tricks or maybe
mind tricks.
Yeah, maybe they can be. Maybe it just really takes somebody that's really powerful, you know.
Yeah.
But they made it for plot points, obviously, in the Phantom Menace, where you couldn't affect Watto, so they had to go another route, and that ultimately ended up with them using Anakin for the pod race, and it was actually a really cool scene. But here we are, we see these characters once again, and they're from, obviously from Toydaria, where it's the king, and you get the same species where they look like Watto, but they feel totally different, and that's what made Clone Wars great, was that they could use these characters that existed. And unlike today with Force Awakens, where that was one of my biggest kind of letdowns, where they were using new characters, not so much taking an Ithorian and saying there he is in the background, or an Aquilish. We love Punzignut, and you'll see him as we go on, and he is an Aquilish. But yeah, that was one of my biggest kind of disappointments. I really wanted, to have more familiar characters. But
it was cool though when you think about when the pod race went down. We got, and in Phantom Menace, we got introduced to all these new aliens that we had never seen before. We did have the familiars though, and they were a welcome sight, and it would have been a welcome sight had they been in Force Awakens. He had something Ithorian looking in Force Awakens, but it wasn't quite an Ithorian.
Yeah, it had a mouth, didn't it?
Yeah, right in the front rather than all the gear on the sides. But
right.
Yeah, I would like to do the king at some point. I was already thinking about drilling holes in the side of his head and putting pegs in there so that whole visor can slide up and down on his head.
Right. You could
trying to figure out ways to do that.
Probably use Bo-Katan, or not Bo-Katan, but Cato Parasiti.
Oh yeah.
Because she had those holes where you could put that, on her. You could put that on her head, and maybe customize it that way. Customize it that way or something. Yeah. But he's a really great character, really great. I hope to get to him at some point myself. And what a cool episode. They went to a really cool world. It looked like a dried up aquarium for just giant things. I just thought it was pretty great that we got to see kind of this really colorful world. This is an image I'd like to share where it shows us our heroes. We got our first heroes, and the one to the far left, my right, is Thyre. And we actually have seen a character, we've seen a figure of him, so we know he outlives the war. And Yoda even says that he will outlive the war if he takes his advice. And so here they are, pitted against the battle droids. What'd you think of this world? It was pretty amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it reminded me of a coral reef. I think what was cool about this one, when we were talking about the clones, I liked how right off the bat in the first episode, Yoda says that there's different. You guys aren't all the same. You're all different. You have your own unique personalities. This is what is unique about you, and it kind of set the premise. So going into this, the viewers know now none of the clones are going to be the same. Look for the differences in these clones. Expect them to have personalities that differ from one another. And I thought this was a great way to bring everybody in, and you get to go in with Yoda, who was a fan favorite, right out of the gate, and you get to see a Yoda adventure, and he gets his own little moment to shine as a Jedi, instead of it just as a mentor.
Yeah, that was so cool. And speaking of differences in characters and whatnot, I thought for sure I was going to have to customize this guy, which is, hopefully he's sharing there. It's the tank gunner, the battle droid tank gunner. And when I first saw him, I was like, whoa, I gotta custom paint one of those right away. Because man, I think I bought a ton of those battle droids when they first came out. There was it was the history making Midnight Madness, where you could go and just buy all the toys. History making, meaning there was so much for that Midnight Madness. And I went to Toys R Us that year. This was in 2008, and they had so much to offer. And I picked up a ton of battle droids. And when I first saw this guy, I was like, I think I gotta have him. So I started to paint him, but thanks to all of our friends that at our collecting sites, all of our friends that share with us all the great information that they put out for the toys, we were able to get that figure or know that he was at least coming. So I decided to forego painting one of them, but I was glad I got one in the end.
I think I was able to get 2, but yeah, that was about it. They weren't easy to come by.
No, they weren't. I think they came out a little later, but like I said, I suppose I knew they were coming, and I guess that's what kept me from, painting in the end, and so let's move on to our next picture I'd like to share. We were talking about the different droids, and let me get that back up. And this was the next one. And this was what Brian was just touching upon. And I don't know, what is your opinion about this, Brian? I look at this, and Yoda's training these guys that don't necessarily have the Force, but he just sits there and he tells them, the Force resides in all of us. And what do you make of that? Do you think Disney is going a new route where even though you might not be strong in the Force, you can be trained in the Force in some way? What do you think?
Yeah, I recently read something, and I think it was a thing with Dave Filoni. It might have been on Rebel Force Radio.
Yeah.
But he was basically saying, like, the way you have like child prodigies that, they just naturally are athletic, or you're just naturally good at something. You may be strong in the Force, where, someone who wasn't born as a prodigy could still practice. And over time, through lots of practice, you can, work your way up to that level. But even if you weren't predisposed to have that ability to begin with, just like someone who has a great amount of potential because they were born with all that, if they never use it, it just, kind of fades off into the background, into obscurity, and, it's never used. But, he did explain that, say the person who does use it, and just like, like an Anakin Skywalker, a chosen one who has like that ability right out of the gate, generally they're going to be stronger in the Force than the person who practices all the time that wasn't that strong in it.
Right. But
I
agree with that.
He made it sound as if, someone who wasn't strong in the Force can become strong in the Force if they devote a lot of work towards it.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that way myself. Akbar or Lor Santeca, this new person, this mysterious guy who apparently knew Luke, or he had something going on. He was a follower of the Force, and what I say Akbar because he's like, may the Force be with us, or all these other guys, these generals, they're like, may the Force be with us. Maybe they're trying to instill the belief that the Force really is in everybody and they can use it in some way. And I did catch that Rebel Force Radio that you're talking about. That's the most recent one. And I caught a little bit of that too, where they were saying Han, didn't really look when he shot that last stormtrooper. And he flies and he's really lucky, and maybe the Force is with him in some way.
Yeah.
And
I always thought Hera was super strong in the Force just for her pilot, and the way she could handle Lando, better than the whole crew.
Right. Oh yeah, Hera is awesome.
Yeah.
She's such a great pilot, so here we are at the end of the episode, and there's Yoda. He's kind of celebrating. He's kind of doing his Buddha thing, or his his awesome
Meditation stance.
Meditation stance. Yeah. The bird comes down and lands. And what I was noticing was that's just one of those nebrae eels, shrunk down. You just can't see the little teeth because it's so small, but they're going to increase in size, later on in some of the episodes we're actually going to get to on episode 2 here, the one that we're talking about. So
I might even make them in that size because Yak Face is having a creature contest right now, and I kind of wanted to have them done for today just to have something like funny from this episode. And I was going to try and make that little creature, but I ended up having to help Elias with the project he was working on. That today.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So all right.
I still may do them though.
Yeah. I don't blame you, man. Those are so cool.
A little quick and easy,
Yeah. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna go to now. Now we're gonna get to our full arc. An arc in the Clone Wars is it could be up to how many? What is the biggest arc? Would you say in the Clone Wars? I know we have.
It depends if you lump all the Night
arc.
Sister stuff together.
Yeah, the Night Sister stuff. They
They
made a whole movie out of that one. That one was so cool.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in season 4, but right now we're going to go into what they call the Malevolence arc. And really, I really liked the Malevolence arc. I thought it was so cool. It introduced us to our first super weapon. And it was basically a ship. The Malevolence was the Separatist ship. And this episode talks about it being in hiding. They're always making these secret weapons in hiding. And Plo Koon and his group, the Wolfpack, I guess maybe they're not the Wolfpack yet, or maybe they were, they find this ship. And they're quickly shot down, aren't they? It's an ion weapon. So we see that with the ion weapon, it has a lot of destructive force, for lack of a better word, and it's just incredible. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, I thought it was cool. I think. Remember for a while when they were putting out the Clone Wars vehicles and the some of those mini rigs, they had like the nice cool backgrounds that you could use to like position your figures in. You could do like photo novels with it, or just take really cool photos of your figures.
Yeah.
There was actually one of the backgrounds. I wish I remember what vehicle it came with, but it actually had the still of the Malevolence in the background.
Oh, that's so cool.
So you could kind of like incorporate it into your play.
Yeah. What do you think about this familiar shot? We get the ion weapon at its best, and it even captures a familiar shot from the Death Star, where it had its super laser, and they kind of mimic that, and it was so cool, that they had this weapon, and I'm guessing that's what that super laser was based on, but they only went to the actual laser that was powered by a kyber crystal, right?
Yeah. We didn't find that out until the end of, I guess they didn't even mention the kyber crystals until, wasn't it one of those Clone Wars scenes that wasn't even finished? It was basically it was that one arc where they first would have shown Anakin with the longer hair, but they ended up never getting to produce the episodes. They never got to completion. They had, I forget, the mock-up animation.
Yeah. Oh man, so super weapons for sure. Yeah, and we'll definitely get to that that custom. I know you have that custom that you.
Oh yeah, we'll do that when we get to those episodes, I guess.
Will
we go into that? Are we going to go that deep, where we're going to start doing the episodes that never got produced?
Possibly. If we can get to them, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is another shot, another thing that I like. You're seeing the Wolfpack here, and some of the characters in that. The guy that's sitting next to Plo Koon, that's actually Commander Wolf. from this episode, and he's yet to lose his eye. I guess he, you know, if you don't know Commander Wolf, he suffers from an eye accident, but it's actually in a comic book. You know, like C-3PO lost his. This is how C-3PO got his red arm. You know, there was actually a comic book. I have it somewhere.
I actually have it right here. I have the action figure cover variant.
Cool. Let's get a little shot of that. Let me.
I think it's over here. Let me just grab it real quick.
Yeah. So basically, this comic book series, it just talks about other points in the war. And by the way, I refer to it as the Clone Wars instead of a Clone War. It wasn't just one war. I felt like it was the Clone Wars, where you were getting separate skirmishes, and that was kind of the beauty of the story. You got this progression of just a series of wars, and I really thought that was cool. And while he's pulling that up, it's basically a comic book. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, this is it right here. It's got the red arm, I guess, right over here. Because there is an earlier one, I guess, one of the Star Wars ones that has C-3PO on the cover as well. But you have to get the red arm version. The other one, it's completely gold. And then this is another variant. It was like a multiple droid pack-in one, but it's the same. It's another variant of the same comic.
Yeah. So here we are in 2016, and we get this story about 3PO losing his arm. Likewise, it was in the Clone Wars, where we had a whole comic book series of the troops and some of the things that happened to them. And with Wolf, Commander Wolf, he literally lost his eye, and he got this cool little
cybernetic silver eye.
Yeah, cybernetic silver eye. Yeah, and it was so cool. What do you think about this part? You know, the whole they're going to have to go out in space and everything.
I thought it was cool. What I enjoyed was the new type of battle droid that they showed. That the one with the red, and they had the light situated on top of its head, and they had that machine that would go around crushing, and like a flying trash compactor that would go and destroy all the escape pods.
I really want a vehicle of that. I want to make one of those.
That would be cool.
And even the escape pod, how cool would that have been to have not only that smasher? I have a little picture up right now of it. You can kind of see it in the background. What it did is it attached to this escape pod, and this is a really numerous escape pod that they had. Lot of console, I don't think the one that R2 and 3PO escaped in was this big, but
one of the Hasbro backgrounds was that control panel.
That's so cool.
I actually have it. I saved every single one that we ever bought. Like, I have a whole area because I used to use it for the blog as backgrounds, and lately I've been doing the grays or the blues because they're easy to get to. But I still have so many backgrounds, and that cockpit is one of the backgrounds.
Yeah, I just thought
you don't have the pinching machine in view, but you actually have the cockpit itself, like the other image you had shown of the computer panels.
Yeah, it would have been great if we could have, got that, got the pinching machine.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Oh God,
I would have loved just to have a escape pod.
Yeah. So here we go. There's the Twilight again. This is Anakin and Ahsoka, and they go and they defy the Council. This was a moment where Anakin and Ahsoka, and they, it was an Obi-Wan Anakin moment where he was kind of like, telling her she's wrong and whatnot. And I didn't really care for that too much. But once they finally got away from the rest of the people, Anakin's like, we're going to go and do what you want. And she gets mad because, she was upset because she wanted to do that in the first place. And he basically said, you don't understand protocol, Jedi protocol. And that, I thought that was a little outlandish for him, to be honest. because he's not one to really want to do Jedi protocol. He was the one that always broke the rules. You know what I'm saying? So
I think he was saying like, hey, don't state your intentions off the bat, because some of your intentions they're not going to back.
Right.
So keep them close. And then, he came up with the idea of scouting ahead, so he could still do what he wanted to do without having to compromise what the Jedi had wanted him to do.
Yeah. What did Obi-Wan say? He reinserted himself or so. What did he say?
Yeah, I forget the exact line. But yeah.
I don't know what he said, but Obi-Wan has the best lines. You're going to hear me say that throughout all of these episodes. I just think he has some of the funniest lines where he says the darndest. He says the darndest things.
Yeah, I like the banter is very good on this show.
True. Okay, so up next we have, let's see here. We were on the Twilight, so let's move on to our next photo, and that is at the end. It's kind of a little Empire Strikes Back moment. I love this, man. I just got so I got a lump in my throat a little bit, because it was like, it reminded me of the Empire Strikes Back, where Plo Koon was out there. He's sitting there with his troops, and they have no hope, and he's basically concentrating. He's concentrating, and he's hoping somebody hears him, and who hears him? Ahsoka. It's just like an Empire Strikes Back. So.
What was nice too is you find out a little bit about Ahsoka's backstory, and you find out that Plo Koon was the one who discovered her and brought her to the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, Kotuya. They use that Kotuya.
Yep.
And he even says it to R2. When he comes when he's actually in the Twilight. So, all right. So now we're getting into the next episode. After they've succeeded and they pick up Plo Koon, they realize that the ship is found, and they're going to actually attack. They're gonna actually attack the Malevolence. So one of the things about that is I really love this part. So we get into the second episode of the Malevolence arc. And what you're seeing here is kind of like a briefing, if you will. So they're briefing the troops on what they're going to do to try to take down this massive ship. And this brings me to a couple of my customs I'd like to share. I have a few of them in here. If you're looking at this picture, you can see a couple of the droids in the background. And you can actually see some of the pilots sitting in the front, and you can see Tag there with his helmet next to him while he's being briefed. And so I wanted to show a couple of those figures at this point, and hopefully I can get them up and show you something cool. The first one I wanted to show was that orange droid in the background, and hopefully,
you made him?
Yes, I did. I actually have him as my my little picture there on my name tag.
Nice.
So let me see if I can pull him up. There he is. So this is R7F5, and I made this droid. Basically, it's just a repaint of R2D2. And I've used that R2 for a ton of things, and so has our buddy Wraith9 over in.
He's great too. Astromechs.
Man, he's done so many Astromechs, and I just think it's amazing.
They're really challenging to do too. Astromechs are not easy whatsoever.
Yeah,
they're difficult.
Yeah, I just love the Astromechs. I actually made the green one, but I made him in a more realistic style. So I won't share that this time around. I will eventually get around to sharing that character. I have a few more tweaks and whatnot I'd like to do.
I have the realistic version that Hasbro put out of the one with the what was it, the red and blue, the red, white, and blue.
Oh,
Droid.
really?
The one to the the one that's the I guess all the way to the right. Hasbro made a version of him. It came in some kind of elite ARC 170 fighter battle pack that came with a couple of unique droids. But
Interesting.
yeah, that's an actual Hasbro that was started off realistic, and then you saw it translated into the Clone Wars animated style.
Yeah. And I actually took the time to make that character also. You're talking about R4T5, is that right?
Is that the one that's to the right of the green one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me show you that one. This is my R4T5, and I recently made this one. Like I said, I was getting into this episode, and I really like the whole idea of they're briefing them, to attack the Malevolence. It feels like Yavin 4, where they're briefing them to attack the Death Star. And Anakin was just a nut. He was ready to, take Grievous down, and they're all like the head clanker and everything, and they were pretty gung-ho about it too. So there's another version of one of the droids that I did for this series, and hopefully I can pull up some of the troops also. I'll show you a few of the troops. What did you think about that episode?
I enjoyed the whole Malevolence arc in its entirety. I mean, it was cool to see Grievous. Towards the end, Padme got brought in, and you got to see her in action. I thought that was cool. Here's that droid I was telling you about.
Yeah, let's see
the realistic one.
Let's see.
Yeah, this is it here. I gotta drag it over here, but I don't know. You can't really see it all that well, but this is the Hasbro version.
Oh,
that was realistic.
Huh? They did make him, huh?
Yeah. I think there's a couple subtle differences I'm noticing, but
yeah,
when it got translated, but it's pretty much similar.
Yeah. Well, here is my next share I'd like to show. This is Tag from that episode where they were actually. Is it showing up there?
Yeah. Oh, it looks great.
Cool. Yeah, and I just thought I would make this guy. One of the other guys we got in there was Matchstick, and it's funny in the Clone Wars, Dave, if he names a troop or he names one of the troopers, he's getting whacked, right? So I thought I'd make Tag to go along with it, and I also have Broadside. I'll try to look him up here, but we'll move on to some of the other things about that episode. One of the things
I like the way with that one when you painted the last guy Tag.
Yeah.
That you had that black primer, and then you could tell that you dry brushed the white in, but it was nice for the weathering effect to have that black underneath.
Yeah, did you see those? Those were actually stickers. I actually printed those stickers. I actually printed those stickers at my day job. They're actually pretty cool. They turned out really good. Sometimes I've taken the time to hand paint on a logo, and sometimes when they get that small, they're really pretty tedious.
It's challenging. I did it once. It is challenging.
Yeah,
and you made me stickers after.
Yeah. The stickers work, don't they?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
They do. And there's all kinds of different things that you can do to produce Hasbro quality, if you will, if you want to kind of match. That's often what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure everything looked at least to the quality of what Hasbro was doing. And isn't that saying something today? That we're like the quality that they are doing, because their stuff was
now we're
quality.
doing better than, but
Their
now
stuff
those stickers are made out of vinyl. That's not a water slide decal. Those are actual vinyl stickers that you make.
That's right. That's right. I've seen water slides, but I'm not sure where to get them, to be honest.
You could actually print them and make them with your home printer if you have the right setup. But I can't do it. I've never done it. I've purchased water slide decals, and I have used them in very few projects, but I do prefer the vinyl stickers that you made to the water slide decals. It's just an easier process.
Yeah. Cool. So moving on from this photo, here we see the first Y-Wings. So we got to see the Y-Wing in its awesomeness. It had all of its armor on it, and this is what they looked like back in the day, before we saw them in Star Wars. What'd you think of the Y-Wings? Great ship.
Yeah, I actually ended up getting that as a toy because that was actually a vehicle they put out, and it had all these cool storage compartments and these pop-up guns, and it was built differently than the ones that we got previously. It had a different design to it. It was a lot sturdier and thicker, and especially the jets. And I like the way it disassembled and reassembled. I know that you did a really beautiful repaint, but was that landing at Point Rain?
Yeah, it was. I actually did both versions of the landing point rain. The one that is on the Doug episode with the Zilla Beast. It's kind of the Commander version, and then I also did the landing at Point Rain one. So they're just there's subtle differences, and I'll show those as we get into some of those episodes. As we move along in some of the episodes, this is essentially what it will feel like. You'll see us put up pictures, and we'll also talk about some of the customs that we'll do. But I'll hold off on that one for a little while until we get to some of those episodes. So here we are. They take off, and they're on their plan. And here is your giant. That little bird, that little bird that was on Ragosa. Now it's the Nebre eel, and they're huge, and they have to fly through them. Anakin physically flies through them and takes the whole team through that set. And Plo Koon is the one in the Jedi Star Ring. And it was cool that they actually made his ship too.
They did a nice job. They made Kit Fisto, Plo Koon.
Right.
They made Sassy-Teen realistic, but they did at least Plo Koon and Kit Fisto in the Clone Wars style.
Yeah, that was really great that they
and they made that Mace Windu one too.
Right.
They had so many
Jedi Starfighters when they got to the Clone Wars, man. They had so many of them that by the time we got to Rebels, in the toy aisle, we were still seeing Jedi Starfighters in that new packaging, and what this picture that I'm showing right here, I wanted to show this picture. I love that the Jedis would fly other things other than just the Jedi Starfighter. They were always in other things, commandeering vehicles or something like that.
For the Twilight, to the Y-Wing. Then he even flew some kind of like Naboo ship in that episode with Padme.
Yeah. Oh, that was a cool figure. The Anakin and the Naboo
gear.
The Naboo gear. Oh man, that was so cool. Yeah, and we'll see him as we go along too. And here we are at the end of the episode. Obviously, they achieved their goal. And this, once again, harkens back to Empire Strikes Back, where they're kind of looking off into the stars, and everybody's happy. Everybody's happy. So now we're getting to the final episode of the Malevolence arc,
Oh, those cool fire. I have one of those, and I wish I had more.
Man, weren't those hard to get?
Yeah, they were.
They were unbelievably hard to get. I actually do have two. I can't believe I was able to find them. That was that wave that had the Sidious in it.
Oh, that was the one, huh?
Yeah. They must have underproduced that wave for sure.
Yeah, there was something weird there because that was almost impossible to find.
I just went in one day and they must have put out two cases because I was able to get two of the droids, two of the Ty-Sens, and then
Wow.
I only got one of the Sidious. And then who else was in there? Stone. I got two of the Stones, and then the Magna Guard was in there too, the white Magna Guard. Yeah. Boy, what a
Most
wave.
of those, I think I had to get one was that entire wave online on like eBay or wherever else I was able to scratch things up.
Yeah.
It was so hard to get things from that one.
Yeah. I can't believe how hard some of the figures were towards the end of what I call the end of collecting.
Yeah, 2013.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, there were some doozies in there. There really were. You know, well, like I said, we'll try to keep the the Hasbro bashing down. You know, they've done some really cool things. If we're reminiscing about the Clone Wars, you know, we're definitely going to be reminiscing about some of the greatest times that they had their toys in the aisle. They were everywhere. You could get them
the golden age.
They always had sales. They always had great things available. It was just few and far between when it came to specific types of figures. And we'll get into some more hard to get Sidious type characters as we go along. And I liked when they did arcs, you know, but I also liked when they did individual episodes too. Let me go back to my imagery and let me show you my next image, which is, I love this look. You know how I was saying that Obi-Wan has the best lines. The greatest thing about this episode was right here. This is the first time we see Grievous and Obi-Wan actually have a lightsaber duel. And when he jumps down, he goes, "Hello there." But you know, it's Grievous. It's actually not Obi-Wan. So he kind of borrowed the line from
Later on.
Yeah, later on. When he sees him, I love that they did that reversal. You know, Dave was great about those episodes and adding just these little elements where, like for example, you know, Anakin not being able to see Grievous ever. You know, you can't see him ever, and they did a great job with that, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they came close that one time. They had to like knock Anakin out just so it still didn't happen, even though they were in each other's presence. You know, they still didn't cross that line and break, you know, that thread in the storyline.
Yeah, they passed by each other, but they never really met, did they?
Yeah, yeah. Anakin was like he was unconscious.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
When are you gonna show your Grievous?
I'll show that. I'll show that one in Lair of Grievous. When we talk about the Lair of Grievous, I'd like to show that one. The one he's referring to, basically when they came out with General Grievous, the first one they came out with, he wasn't that great. You know, he didn't really stand up right, but I give them props for making him so skinny and so intricate in his design. You know what I'm saying? But he had a lot of problems, didn't he? He definitely had a lot of problems where he just he would not stand up for the life of him. And what I did and what Brian was talking about was I took the time to make a Super Grievous. and I made his arms and his legs. I made him able to do the splits. You know, I added elements to his feet and everything. And this was before we got the one that actually was from Lara Grievous, where you know, he had that kind of that burned element and whatnot. So that one I'll save it. I'll save that one for later.
Okay.
But
I like the way you painted the eyes on that one.
yeah, towards the end of the episode, and this is just to finish out that episode. I love that it seemed like a Star Wars movie. You know what I'm saying? Where there was Padme, there was Anakin, Obi-Wan, the droids were there. They were all on this ship, you know, that
it almost had like the Han Solo, Leia, Luke, and the droids feel to it.
Right. And in the end, it turned out just great. And I just thought, what a cool episode to kind of end that out. And yeah, what did you think of it?
Was that the one where they showed like the train lines going through the ship as well?
Right. The ship was so big that you had to have a
train. Like,
yeah, you had to.
That was such a cool idea.
A transit line to kind of get through it. Yeah. And they even made that in Lego form, which was so cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they made the Malevolence, you know, in Lego form. Yeah.
That's wild.
So this image here is just kind of at the end. You're kind of seeing them succeed in their mission. They brought down the Malevolence. They destroyed this big ship, and they succeed in you know, breaking it down, which is so cool. So here we are. And anything you wanted to add to that, to the Malevolence arc? That was basically it for the Malevolence arc.
You said you were going to show that one, the clone trooper that basically, remember we were talking earlier this morning about the slick head on a Yularen body?
Yeah.
How they kept showing that throughout the episodes.
Right. And how did you go about making that trooper while I pull that up? You wanna talk about it?
I'm trying to remember. All I did was grab a Yularen body, and it might have been either a slick head or a heavy head or whatever flat top clone trooper head I had laying around. I just grabbed it. I think I shot a little bit of glue from a glue gun in there because it doesn't actually adhere to anything the way Crazy Glue would, and it just fills in the hole really well.
Yeah.
Where you keep that ball joint flexibility, and it stays nice and tight on your figure, and it's just a quick, easy way to do that. And yeah, there's a bunch of them through there, so it was an easy way. If you had it had extra Yularens laying around, it was a good way to make some of those clones and Imperial officer outfits.
Yeah, and even though they looked a little bit skinny, they looked right. They still looked right. So
yeah, it still worked.
Yeah, it still worked. It did still work. And what I did with mine, this is mine. This is my example of it. All I did was I cut the neck off right at the collar there. You can kind of see, and what I did is I cut the clone trooper neck off as well. I think this was like an Echo, and we'll get into Echo here in a minute. Or whichever one was the first to come out. Maybe it was Denell. Denell was the first one to come out that actually had a removable helmet, other than Rex or Cody. So this was Wolf, and he's got his Imperial officer outfit on. So you know, he does not have the eye, you know, the eye missing yet.
I actually have the eye missing one.
Yeah.
Made. I think I didn't make them like that. Actually, I have one similar to that I never photographed. But I do have the eye one for sure.
Yeah.
That one I did later on. I think I used the head of the really nice one that they had put out later on that had the armor, but it didn't have articulated knees. So articulated everywhere else, but not on the knees. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Had a removable helmet.
Right.
I used that Wolf head, I think.
Yeah, that was a great Wolf. That was eventually once they they get out of this. His group, the Wolfpack, and it's probably the most popular troop other than the 501st, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. He's right up there with Cody in popularity. Even more so, I would even go as far as saying he's more popular than Cody.
I agree.
For the Clone Wars, at least. Maybe not in the films, but for Clone Wars, definitely.
Yeah, for Clone Wars, the Wolfpack was the most popular, and one of the reasons you see them switch from gray from maroon to gray is that they were honoring the lost troops at the fall of their ship with the Malevolence, what we just talked about. So you see people like Sinker and Boost, and they're in those maroon outfits, and they no longer wear those in honor of that fallen troop. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I recently did. Who did I recently do? I did. Oh boy, I am drawing a blank. I did one of those troops recently.
Oh, you did just the backpack one from the Trandoshan arc. That one.
Yeah.
Padawan Lost.
Yeah, that was. It wasn't Sinker or Boost. It was the other guy. Who's the other guy?
Not Turbo.
Turbo.
Is it Turbo?
Was there a Turbo Trooper? No.
I don't remember.
No, I don't think there was a Turbo Trooper.
No, I don't know.
Oh boy. Wow, drawing a blank. Sorry, folks. So many names you gotta.
That's right. We don't really have to remember until we get to the Padawan Lost episode, anyway.
Right. It's so true. It's so true. But once again, with that custom, it's just really a matter of shaving the neck off of one of your clone troopers that had a neck, a ball and peg neck. I still swear to this day, when they brought out, fast forward to today with the 5 POA stuff, I said somewhere on some forum, I'm like, if they keep anything, keep the ball and peg head. And sure enough, they kept the ball and peg head. I was super thankful for that, man. I was just like,
me too.
That is
Otherwise,
something.
I would be able to make that nicer, super articulated version of Kylo Ren with like the unmasked, the partial mask, and then the hooded,
Right, and I just feel that is the best interpretation of a jawline to the chin, especially on
I agree.
The female characters. Female characters look great with the ball and peg head.
Yeah, they do.
For sure. All right, so the next thing we're going to get into, which is our last episode that we're going to talk about from season 1 on this episode, is rookies, and that was probably one of the most popular episodes for a lot of people because we finally got troops that were starting to get names. They were getting custom deco and everything, and it was definitely, wouldn't you say it was one of the more popular episodes?
Yeah, it was one of the first more. I felt like Ambush had clones, but it was still more Yoda versus Ventress. And the clones were there, but they were more secondary characters. The nice thing about this episode was it was a clone-centric episode. It was all about them.
Yeah, I agree. And we talk about the fortune cookies as well. And I really like this fortune cookie, and I'm going to share that now. It said the best confidence builder is experience. And where did we hear this recently? That we've already heard several times, and it was with Rex, and we're kind of jumping forward a little bit in Rebels. Rex is talking to Ahsoka.
Outranks everything.
Yeah, where he's saying experience outranks everything. So you constantly kind of get this little experience is a big part of what's going to make them, what's going to mold these troopers into what they're going to be. And it even went as far as to Ahsoka, and building relationships. It was a big part, learning and having the experience that you needed was a big part of it. And so I thought that was really cool. And this was the opening portion of it. And one of the things I really liked about this, are you seeing this here?
Oh yeah.
They recreated that episode 2 element that's at the end, and they got that nice music going on. It's like,
Yeah.
I really love this, and they have that really striking background, or the sky and the ship flying off, and I just love when they do that kind of thing where they kind of connect the movie and the show just a little bit more. That was kind of the bum deal at the end, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a ton of times, where I really wish it rolled right up to Revenge of the Sith, like the micro series did.
Yeah, it came really close though. I mean,
Yeah,
it almost feels like there was only a few weeks left to tell before it got there.
yeah,
Because we know we got up to the point where, the last time Ahsoka saw him before he ended up going to save the Chancellor. So we knew we were getting right up to that point. We weren't far at all.
and we just found that out recently, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And Rebels, we're just getting all these revelations in Rebels. Ahsoka was definitely awesome. The season finale was just incredible for Rebels. What do you think? You think she's? let's jump real quick. You think she's alive, or do you think she's dead?
Oh, I'm firm she's alive all the way.
Really?
And why would they show her physically walking? She wasn't translucent. She's going into that triangular corridor. They showed the owl with the colorings of the daughter from the Mortis trilogy, but that the daughter represented resurrection, because I guess Ahsoka had passed in that episode and she was reborn. So whether Ahsoka did pass, and automatically you have to say if the daughter owl was there with that coloring, then she was reborn somehow. And I'm everything to me points to Ahsoka being alive.
Wow.
What about you?
I don't know. I'm middle of the road kind of thing.
Are you? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I kind of feel like Dave was trying to be artistic and trying to show us all, her death did happen, in fact, but we're going to kind of do it very mythical, very magical kind of thing, where she's passed on into the next thing. Some people have even said she's, the balance of the Force, like she had to move on to the next level or next echelon or something like that, where
I don't think she was going up though. She was going down.
That's true.
If
Yeah.
anything, she's going to hell.
Yeah, it's certainly a can of worms, but yeah. So there's always those things that lead you to that, and back to the Clone Wars, where we're at this point. At this point, we're getting one of the best episodes because it was a clone builder, right? It was a chance for just some simple clones, just some clones that are essentially nobodies, but we learn later on down the road.
Well, they are somebody's. When you think about it, if we watched it in, like, you remember how they later told us, like, the chronological order?
Yeah.
We're watching these episodes. Right in the Rishi Moon, we end up losing, a character that was, critical to, what was it, Bravos?
They're Domino Squad.
Domino Squad, okay.
They're Domino Squad. Yeah, we'll get into that down the road. George decided, well, I want to make what happened before that episode. That's more towards season 3. We'll get into that. But right now it's just straight up episodes. But what I was saying was that these main characters, what we now know as Domino Squad, they were very, charismatic in this episode. And what they were doing was that they were defending a moon. They were defending a moon near Camino. It was like their first mission, but they were not very. They were really rough around the edges. Rex called them shinies. They were basically shinies.
A bunch of newbies.
Yeah, and the only one that was really, really kind of a cynic was Heavy. He was just bored. And then we get these awesome commando droids. You see that shot there?
That's a great shot.
Yeah, these are the ninjas. These are the ninjas of the
battle droids.
Of the battle droids, and I guess what they explained to us was the fact that these droids they were so expensive to make because they were more intelligent, they were more agile. That there weren't very many of them, so they would only send them on absolute special missions. And if they knocked out this listening post, this base, this Rishi Moon base, they would definitely be able to go into Camino and take out the troops. And so that leads us to kind of the inhabitants of this moon. And one of the inhabitants, other than the Nebre eels, or I'm sorry, the Nebre mantis, is and what is this eel called? The
Rishi eel, I think, right?
It's the Rishi eel, just like the moon. And we would like to take this time to give yet another shout out to another awesome customizer. And we're going to share that at this point in time. This guy actually sculpted by hand a Rishi eel. And I'm going to hand it over to Brian.
Okay.
Let's talk about
that. Let me just get the screen share going. And let's go to the entire screen. All right. So let me pull his stuff up real fast. Okay. You seen it?
Yeah. And what is
so that's only the sculpt that he's got going there.
And what is the customizer's name?
Jedi Jep. Okay, it's Jedi, 2 J's after Jedi, EP. And he actually made this for his son's birthday. And, I always dig any type of parent that goes. Glorbs is the other guy that we showed. These are customizers that just make things for their kids. I'm one of those guys myself. So it's really cool to see
amazing.
people who have this kind of inspiration. And I mean, the paint on this is incredible. It looks
I wonder if he put it on the cake.
I know, right? But yeah, it's huge. I would just love to have something like that to play with.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah.
Go back to the eel real quick.
Okay.
Oh wow. Yeah. There could have been more beasts too from the that is just so cool.
It's beautiful. The paint on there is amazing.
And
I'm like, as I was like looking at these pictures, I'm like, man, he must have had a mold to make this stuff.
Yeah, he must have used clay. Did you get any insight from him?
No, I mean, I've talked to him about it in the past. You can actually find this thread on Rebel Scum. He has I guess in the dioramas, he has his thread in there, and just look for his name. He's got an amazing talent for sculpting.
I would have bought that in a minute, a New York minute.
Right? You're not kidding,
right? And back in the day, I bet you something like that would have been totally reasonable at, I don't know, $25.
Yeah, I mean, if you run that in polyfoam or something, that would be awesome.
Yeah, but something like this, of course, this is a one-of-a-kind, a piece of art.
Yeah.
It certainly wouldn't be $25, but
not at all.
What I'm saying, if they mass produced it, if Hasbro took the time to mass produce it, so don't get any funny ideas. I'm sure this thing is priceless.
Oh God, yeah.
Works of art, the things that we do. It takes a lot of work. I'm sure there's a lot of man hours in this amazing piece of artwork.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's pretty gorgeous.
Yeah, And
the coloring is amazing. That's why I like the purples and the blues and the highlights, and you can see all the cracks, all the detail in the cracks and the folds. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So shout out to you, sir. Way to go. Yeah, that's fantastic. Fantastic. And so here we are back at our eel here. Let's see what we got. Okay, so they run into these, and we actually lose one of the troops. Poor Cut Up. Cut Up actually gets eaten. But this is actually the second time we see the eel, and Rex actually puts it down by shooting it in the eye. And here we see this is both Fives and Echo, and actually Rex just put the blood of the eel on the armor of Echo, and I really like that because we're starting to get kind of custom troops. This is the first time in the series that we're starting to see kind of custom armor come out in Echo, and we certainly got a figure of him. That's another great character if you want to use one of those to make customs with. Echo had a removable helmet, but his helmet had the deck officer goggles, or the visor.
Yeah, that go up and down.
Yeah, I thought that character was amazing. I
like that armor, that handprint too. He carried that handprint over.
Yeah.
Pretty much all the way up until, even when he was in the ARC Trooper armor, he still had that handprint on.
Yeah, it meant something to him, and that was Rex saying, "You guys are a bunch of shinies," and he's
that was saying you're out of shiny mode.
Yeah,
you got a battle under your belt now.
Right. And then here we are at the end of the battle. They're basically trying to take the moon back, and I found out today.
They showed the plank droids that early off in the show.
Yeah, and I actually showed you or did I show you? I didn't show you. I'll show you those right now. I actually did several of these plunk droids. And they're called plunk droids because of the sound that they make. But do you know how they got their name?
Is it a spin-off on the Gonk droid, or?
It is kind of. They were made by Killian Plunkett. So the plunk droid. So he came up with this idea, and he made this character that was totally cool. So let me show you one of those, or several of those that I have available.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, they're really fun. I had a great time with these. I'll show you the green one. This one was actually in the. He was actually in the Malevolence arc that we were talking about. These are actually the fuelers. And we learned that they have Tabana gas in some compartment where they fuel the vehicles with Tabana gas. You know where Tabana gas comes from, right?
Yeah, isn't that the episode that we just saw in Rebels where those big whale squid creatures?
Right. Well, no. Tabana gas. I'm referring to the Tabana gas. Actually, that was mined on Cloud City. So we get our first reference of Tabana gas and what it is, and some of the different places. But I'm sure that was Tabana gas. That they. Well, obviously, it's not Tabana It could be. But what I'm saying is we got the Tabana gas in the droid, and it's so very cool that we see this for the first time and we hear it, and then there's those little nods to the old movies, to the classic movies with Tabana gas. And here is the other version that I did of that droid. And this is the blue version. I think this was like just kind of like the concept droid. because that picture that I just had up from Rookies, I found out that it was the yellow one. It's there's 3 different fuel droids or plunk droids, and that one was the blue one that seemed more like a concept one, because I haven't seen the blue one. Have you seen the blue one in any of the episodes?
No, not a fan.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of making the yellow one currently. I was working on it today, but I don't really have any pictures to show.
How did you? I know, like, I had one made by Boba Fett at one point in time.
Yeah.
And I know he used a bandsaw to cut the droids, I guess to shave off the front and the back of the droids so you could assemble them and then use putty to smear them. How did you go about, creating yours?
Yeah. Well, I know we all go about it different ways. His seemed to be from a vintage mold. Am I right?
One of them that he did, I ended up, when I did a commission deal with him, and when I had mine made, I had him use not the older vintage ones. I think he had made one with older vintage parts from the 70s Gonk droid. When I had him make the one for me, I used that modern one that came in the 3 packs.
Yeah.
That had the removable top. I think it came with like a Death Star droid, and what the heck is the name of the white, red, and blue droid from the scene with the Jawas with the bad motivator?
R5D4. Yeah.
Yeah, so it came in that pack. I had them use two Gonk droids from that particular pack to create mine.
Yeah, I really love that pack. Those were so underrated. The target packs, right? The 3 packs.
Those were nice.
Because that is the one that I used. That tan Gonk droid. I just basically used 2 of them. And here, let me pull the image right back up for a minute. What I did is I used 2 of them, and then right in the center here, where the fuel line is, I just basically filled that in with another piece of plastic, and then I put some green stuff over top of it and just sanded it down.
Oh, nice.
So what I started with is I started with 2 of those Gonk droids, and then I glued them together. I pieced them together, and then just with super glue.
Yeah.
And then I filled in the area that was in there, and then of course I painted over it, and there you have it. You have a more
Is the lid still removable or no?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh, nice.
I have it where it comes off. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can try to pull up those pictures and such, but let me see if I can look for them. Is there anything that jumped out at you in Rookies while I look for that? Is there anything in?
Oh, remember we both did versions of this, but in that particular episode, they show those commando droids putting on clone armor and clone disguise. And I remember I ended up basing the ones I made off of yours, because I saw yours and I was like, man, I have these parts. This is great for play.
Right.
So I ended up making, a set of 2 clones where as soon as you take the clone trooper helmet off, it has the commando droid face there.
Oh, I love that too. And he was like, no, we're all good here. We're all good here.
Yeah.
Don't, we don't need you to come down and do a, what were they doing? They were doing what was Rex and Cody doing? They were doing some kind of routine check. And they were like, no, we don't need you to come down. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. So here's that droid, that you were just talking about. Where I can still take it off, and you can kind of see in the center there on the body. You can see on the body where it's kind of molded together, where it's molded together still. And those were some super fun droids to make. And I actually did make that other one that you were talking about, the one from the. I
have mine right here if you want me to pull it up real fast.
Absolutely.
Yours are cooler because I did like a basic Hasbro. Mine was
You did more than one though, didn't you? You did several, or you did two of them.
I just did two.
Yeah.
But you painted yours and weathered yours. I kind of made mine where it just fit in with the rest of the Elias's Hasbro figures. But you actually went as far as painting, and I do prefer yours to my own. Actually, this is yours right here.
Yeah. So what I did, what he's referring to is, if you look at the head there, I gave it the laser blast in the head, like an alternate head, and then I made the other eyes, the whites of the eyes, a little bit more interesting and exciting. Ooh, where are you going?
Sorry, I was trying to bring up the thing so as you talked about it,
Yeah.
you could actually see it.
Yeah, that's basically what I did. Even in the past, when it comes to customizing, I jump back and forth. I don't know how you feel, whether or not I want to weather them. Whether or not I would like to weather them. You know, do I keep them clean, or do I go full on and weather them? The first Clone Trooper that came out in 2008, it had weathering on it. I thought that was so cool.
Yep.
They took the time to weather them in a way that they looked like they were in a war. And later on down the road, we started getting
shinier,
ultra clean. Yeah, they were shinies. They really were shiny. They really were shinies, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually default to always trying to make things look as Hasbro as I can. So that way when I display everything on Elias's shelves, it all kind of fits together. But there have been times, I know I did like an ARC Trooper 5s that I did do at least a little bit of a weathering. I didn't go too deep into it, but I did enough.
Yeah, I just recently did an Apo, and I had him in Commander Apo. I think he's Sergeant Apo in the Krell arc. Yep. And I had done the blue markings on the trooper, but I didn't really make his armor weathered. I thought I'd keep it white, and that way maybe it would kind of compare to what Hasbro did. But before I posted him, I said, I'm just going to give him a weathering. I'm gonna give him a nice weathering paint job, and that was one of the more recent ones that I posted on my page. We'll certainly get to him down the road as we talk about more episodes. Yeah. So one more time with the rookies. We'll go back to rookies real fast here. I thought it was a great episode. It definitely hashed out some nobody characters, and they really became something, because in the end, these troops were going to be some of the greatest troops that we ever ever came in contact with, right?
Oh yeah, they ended up getting great stories that, even some of their stories continued even after the show ended, because we have Echo, who we had that one unproduced. That was like that latest batch of unproduced episodes that we got.
Right. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Echo does reach.
Well, I figure at this point, anything we talk about is a spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it. But
yeah,
I mean, it's been so many years now.
Oh God, I know. I was just beside myself when they offed Echo. Everybody was so like, don't you kill Echo? Don't you kill
just
Echo?
See all the Domino Squad, boom.
Yeah. Down. What they say, down goes the Domino Squad.
Yeah.
So this last image I wanted to share of this episode was that they mentioned the 501st, and that's totally cool. And this is their induction into the 501st. I thought that was pretty rad.
Yeah.
So when next we see these guys, and that's probably the beauty of what George decided. He wanted to learn a little bit more about these characters. When we see them again, they have all this deco on their armor. Fives has his tattoo on his forehead, but he has it in this one. They definitely have their tattoos going. when it came to the beginning of this episode, when they were sitting there listening to the holographic radio of the Betty bot.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's definitely one I'd like to make.
Oh, that would be cool to have.
Not so much a hologram.
Someone
one.
made her. A
Yeah.
guy, Mousedroid Hoobg, made that Betty bot.
All our names, huh? Everybody with our funny names.
I know.
that's
He's
funny.
from Australia.
Yeah. Of course, my name too, Peak-OB1. I've heard so many people call it different things, and I'm all right with that. It's just, I don't know. It's just Obi-Wan is my favorite character. Peak is my last name. That's really all it comes down to. Where'd you get the Darth Daddy? Where did that come from?
Because it was a project I was doing with Elias, like customs for the kid. I'm making customs for my kid, and then I started posting over a yak face, and you have to create accounts to even post anything, you have to create a moniker. And I'm like, well, I'm a dad doing this, and I'm like, what goes with dad? And I was like, DD Darth Daddy, okay, and luckily it was available. And it's kind of, I've had it. When I started going over to other websites like Imperial Shipyards, I think Rebel Scum, it was taken. I couldn't even use it over at Rebel Scum. So I ended up just using customs for the kid. I think maybe when I first started at Rebel Scum, I was Lord Daddy. But then, eventually I just grabbed the customs for the kid, and that was like a blanket thing for the blog. But yeah, it just kind of stuck over time, and I like it. It works. I don't know if I like being associated with the dark side, but that's okay.
Stay on the light. Stay on the light.
Yeah, I try to lean towards the light, but I got a Darth in me. So,
well, that pretty much concludes what we're going to talk about this episode. The episode that we just did. We will continue to talk as we talk about different things. The more detailed or the more exciting episode, if you will, we won't dive deep into like Mugen tea or anything. I always call that the Mugen tea episode because I always, I'm referring to the episode that everybody scrutinizes so much, the Mandalore. Once we get into the Mandalore, we're going to talk deep about this, but I always thought that those guys, those lizard guys, were the Phalanx.
The Egyptian-looking guys.
Yeah, the Egyptian-looking guys, and then I found out they were called Mugans, and I just laughed forever, laughing out loud. I was just like, Mugans, hey, Mugans. But we'll get into that another time. One of the things before we do that. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about with those episodes?
No, I think we covered the stuff that we were gonna.
Cool. Well, I think I'll take the last part of the show. I'm just going to show you a quick custom tip. I call this kit bashing. If you're not familiar with what kit bashing is, it's essentially pulling the mechanics of the character apart. Taking a kind of like a ball and peg, the ball and peg head that we were referring to earlier, where you can just physically pull the head off. And as long as there is a comparable ball on the neck that fits another head, you could literally put a different head to customize that character. And that's all you really need to do to kit bash something together. So what I'd like to do this time around is I would like to show you I made an ultimate, what I call an ultimate version of a clone trooper. And it's funny that we never actually got one of these. This never happened in the entire collection. And if you saw our first episode, we were speculating how many figures were there. You had said, oh, they made over 100. And then I had come back and said, I went in and I looked at our book in our fabulous book from our friends.
I love that book.
You know, Kurto's in there, and Paul's in there from JTA, and there's some great people who produced that book. And we went through and we counted all the figures that were in there, and I think it was like 250. There's 250 unique, or just enough to make you mad, Clone Wars figures that they made. 250. That's outrageous.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's outrageous. And that collection essentially started as a kind of a kit bashed type of thing, where they were just taking droids and troops, and they were just making different colors, different paint schemes, popping off heads and whatnot. So what I wanted to do was show you my version of like an ultimate clone trooper, and that's with everything. Like he has the full gamut of everything, and how you go about making one. And this is him in his entirety. Can you see that there?
Oh yeah, great.
So he has the full range of motion. You know, he can do the splits. You know, he has all the knee bends and everything, and he has the removable helmet, which they seem to think.
And those ball jointed wrists.
Yeah, and the ball jointed wrists. So how you go about making one of these, if you'd like, all it really takes is having the right figures and just a hair dryer, just a regular hair dryer. You'll hear in the custom community that people will do what's called boil and pop, and that's you're basically, what is boil and pop? Right?
I'm a boiler and popper. I do have a heat gun, and I will use it.
Tell me what boil and pop is.
Get a pot of water. You put it up to, put it on the stovetop. Turn that flame up to high. You let it boil. You drop your finger in there for less than 5 minutes. I would say anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. You grab a spoon, you pull it out. Then you probably want to use your oven mitts. Grab each side of the figure, and you pull apart the parts that you want. Basically, when it boils, it gets the plastic soft enough and pliable enough where you could pop those lock joints and separate them. And I do it through boil and popping, and then other people will use a hair dryer.
Yeah, that's where I was going. There's nothing wrong with boiling popping. There's nothing wrong with a heat gun or hair dryer. You just be careful when you're customizing. Just care is something you
could burn yourself easily.
You could. I remember back in the 90s, I didn't want to boil and pop for some reason, and I decided to put it on a pan in the oven.
Oh no, Melt City.
Yeah, Melt City. But what I use is a hair dryer. I just a basic hair dryer, and I don't have it up here. It's down in the Wampa Cave. I refer to it as the Wampa Cave. That's why you're not seeing any toys back here or anything. I'm just up in my office, but everything is down in the Wampa Cave, and it's just a regular hair dryer. And how you go about making this character, if you wanted to have one for yourself, all you need, the components that you need, are a character that has a removable helmet, and this is Slick. This character here is Slick. So he actually doesn't have the articulating legs. He just has a regular body. But if you notice this, the torso, I affectionately call that the joystick. It's kind of it gives it a range of motion like a joystick, and one of the reasons is it's on just a little peg, and all you really need to do is take your hair dryer and heat this element up. This is the torso, the upper torso, or so we call it, and heat this element up really hot, at least 3 or 4 minutes, just direct heat on it. And then what you'll be able to do is literally pull this away from that joint, that
mushroom.
Yeah, that mushroom, that little peg there. and you'll be able to pull that off. And what you'll be able to do at that point is take your slick, and what you're looking for is that upper torso that has the neck on it and everything. So you literally won't have to remove the head or anything, or cut it off with a blade or anything. As long as you heat it up and pull that torso off, then you can move to the next guy, which is the ARF Trooper. And
that's what all that great articulation is.
Yeah, he's the one that has the range of motion. And they realized that at times people would have to sit on something. So the ARF Trooper was going to be on that little chicken walker. And he was the one that was granted the range of motion. But back when they made this guy, who's still readily available on eBay, you can still get him for a decent price. He still has the ankles. He still has the knee joints. And he's just totally awesome from the waist down. So what you can do is, once you remove both Slick's upper torso and you remove the ARF Trooper's lower torso, right from there down, all you have to do is just add Slick's torso to the ARF Trooper's lower body, and that's how you come up with the ultimate clone trooper. And that's really all there is to it. I didn't paint this guy. I haven't custom painted this guy or anything. He's just
no paint kit bash.
Yeah, no paint kit bash. He just popped together. I know Imperial Shipyards has done kit bash contests. Yeah, and they were really cool. So that's just my little quick tip of the.
That's a great one.
Yeah, of the episode, and certainly love talking about the Clone Wars. We're going back in time. We are celebrating it, as me and Brian say. We love to talk about the Clone Wars. We certainly hope you enjoy these episodes, because we're going to bring more and more, not only of our customs, but hopefully our insights into these episodes. So is there anything else you'd like to add, or would you like to just tell us where we can find you?
Okay, you could find me at www.customsforthekid.blogspot.com. On there, you'll get links to our pages on Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, you name it.
Everything.
And the only other thing I would probably add is just that as episodes go deeper and deeper into the seasons, you're probably going to see a lot more custom. It'll be a lot more custom heavy. I know, like, probably both of our work, as we go deeper into like seasons 2, 3, 4, 5, there's probably going to be a lot more customs being shown than what we've been showing so far, because that's probably where the bulk of our work is represented.
Right. I agree. Yeah, these first few episodes, they're great episodes. But
Hasbro made most of the stuff from these episodes.
That was the idea. Yeah, that they kind of did a good job out the gate.
Yeah.
You're like, am I going to get that battle droid? Am I going to get that? Am I going to get that character? Yeah, we got that Padme. That Padme is so cool.
Oh, especially because like she could change her outfit as you go. You could do the full white, almost like what she wore in the battle arena.
Yeah.
And then you had the purple hood, then you had the scarf, and
even the one for the Malevolence arc, that one's cool too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've used her to make a lot of stuff.
Yeah. That's a great character. I like all the girl characters.
Yeah, that was one of the nice things about the Clone Wars, is it really developed, the female characters the most compared to the other ones. There's just a bountiful amount.
Yeah. So as far as where you can find me on Facebook, Peak-OB1 Custom Creations, and Clone Wars Custom Action Figures on Facebook as well. I also try to frequent the forums on Yak Face and Imperial Shipyards. That's another place you can find me, just around the web. So yeah, we'll definitely have more episodes coming. We're going to go through this entire series, and we're just going to basically do it just like we did. We're going to talk about highlights. We're going to talk about what we liked about it, different things that popped out at us, and we're certainly going to show you more customs than what we showed. It was a little light on the customs this round, but we kind of knew
It was going to be that way to start.
Yeah, right.
Once the big payoff would be coming later, but I mean, we still have plenty to show on our way up to those, like, you know, concentrated episodes. But yeah, I would say if you feel like you're not getting enough customs, you will.
Yes, for sure. So that about wraps it up. This is episode 2 of Customizing the Clone Wars. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Have a good night, everybody. May
See ya.
the force be with you.
Yep.